Masechet Zevachim, actually in Ramat Bet HaKerem, over here, the main square. They've actually done that really, really nice at the moment. We're doing a lot of work over here for the last 2-3 years, but now there's luxurious apartments right above me, and it's a main shopping area. We've got a beautiful Israeli flag behind me, shopping centre, and also Chabad put a Chanukah up. Obviously it's not Hanukkah anymore, but it was up over there. You've got a nice British tea shop over here. That's just getting an early morning coffee, and opportune time to share over some words. Friends, we are already on page 105 of Masechet Zevachim. Let's get some just view of a street word we're talking about, and interesting topic we're talking about just as I'm having my coffee over here. The question, friends, over here is, which we're posing today, when clothing comes ritually defiled, we're going to speak and grapple about that topic. We learned in the Mishnah in yesterday's page, obviously naturally on page 104, and decided up that there are some korbanot sacrifices that must be burned entirely after the blood is sprinkled on the altar, and the innards are then sacrificed. That's what we learned about. Now the Mishnah teaches that such korbanot sacrifices were placed on poles and were carried by kohanim front and back to the somewhere called a Beit Hadeshen. What is a Beit Hadeshen, friends, over here? It is the ash pit outside of the city of Jerusalem. So that's what we've learned about already over here. Now, according to Torah, we actually learn about in Sefer Vayikra in chapter number 4, verse 25, and also in chapter 16. I think it's verse 4 in Vayikra. I think it is Parshat Vayikra, if I'm not mistaken. The clothing belonging to the kohanim who had this responsibility will become tamei, impure, ritually defiled, and had to be immersed in the mikveh. Now we've learned in various different places about different laws within regards to mikvahot and so on and so forth, and ritual defilement, and the abatumas also we've grappled with that on various occasions before. Okay, so that's very interesting. So, and the Mishnah is going to progress and continue and teach that the clothing of the Kohanim become tamei immediately. It's going to become impure over here. When each one of the Kohanim carrying the sacrifice left the walls of the Bet HaMikdash courtyard or compound, thus the Kohanim who were in front carrying the sacrifice would become tamei, impure, even though their colleagues, other people they're working with, in the rear parts over there, were still, let's say, of a pure state, ritually pure. Now, once all of the Kohanim had left the temple courtyard, we've spoken about the Bet HaMikdash courtyard, then they were all tamei. They would all be at that window in time, ritually impure. Now, the Gemara is going to progress on today's page and speak about the source of this Jewish law, of this halacha, and they're going to quote a braita that explains that regarding the sacrifices brought on Yom Kippur, the Torah sounds as if they must be removed and burnt outside a single encampment. Actually, we see this, I believe, in chapter 16, in verse number 27 in Book of Vayikra. I think that's in either Parshat Tazria or Metzora, respectively. I've got to double check on which one that happens there. And we learn all those laws over there. We've got still a good few months away. It's going to be just after, I think, the festival of Pesach. We will learn about those parashot respectively. Now, while regarding other such sacrifices, the requirement is to burn them outside of these 3 camps. Now, what were the camps? There was the inner camp, which was of the tabernacle. There was a middle camp of the tribe of Levi. And there was an outer camp, which was the tribe of the Israelites in the desert, in the wilderness, or known as Midbar. From this, we understand that although the sacrifices must be burned on this, let's say, Beit Hadeshen, outside of all the 3 camps, and in the temple, the Bet HaMikdash, outside the walls of the city of Jerusalem, nevertheless, the ritual defilement of the clothing of the Kohanim associated with this service is going to take effect immediately upon leaving the encampment of the tabernacle, of the Mishkan, or Bet HaMikdash, or the temple courtyard, how we can call it. So that's very, very interesting. We learned about all these laws in previous times, and we've spoken about this on various occasions already before here inside this series, just actually in the sun at the moment. So I want to just move position as we continue. Now, I want to speak a bit about yesterday's page also, because we missed out on a few important tidbits on yesterday's page. So I think it's very good. Chazara is always important, and they say that there's, I don't know if it's a Talmud that says it over, but there's a commentary that actually states you can't compare someone that learns Torah, properly, of itself, and someone that learns the Torah and does the Chazara also. There's worlds of difference. If anyone wonders, behind me I've got a big apple pie pizza, also English cake, coffee shop also right behind me, and I'm just going inside some, can see some of the nice luxuries of Eretz Yisrael, some different foods in of itself. It's actually a beautiful morning recording this, as I stated before, here in Ramat HaKerem in Jerusalem. So everyone that you're live and you're new here, welcome to our community. I just wanted to speak a little bit about yesterday's page of the Gemara, where we're talking about yesterday about the sacrifices that must be burned. Now, yesterday we saw that and we learned that there's some korbanot, some sacrifices that must be burned entirely after blood is sprinkled on the altar and the innards will be sacrificed. So we talked about that. Many of the Yom Kippur sacrifices, Day of Atonement sacrifices, korbanot, as well as some of the public guilt offerings, for example, those brought by the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, and those brought by the great Sanhedrin. We spoke right at the start of the tractate about the Sanhedrin respectively. And we learned that the Sanhedrin could make errors, could err in their judgments, and cause at one stage in time possibly the majority of the community to transgress. And they were, I think, taken to the Bet Hadeshen, the place of the ashes, to be burned at that point in time, this korbanot. Okay, that's what we learned about actually in Pasha Vayikra, I believe in chapter 4, verse 12. If, however, let's say a korban is burned because it must be destroyed, for example, let's say some error or blemish kept it from being brought as sacrifice, the Mishnah on today's page teaches that it's not taken to the Bet Hadeshen, rather it will be burned in an area called the Bet HaBira. Now, we've spoken about this before here on the series already. It's not the first time. A Bet HaBira. A question we learned about yesterday, we posed, was what were the places where the sacrifices were burned? You know, we've learned about all these different terminologies. What were the places? And that's the question that was posed over here. So we learned in yesterday's page that Rabbi Nachman now is going to come in and weigh in on this over here, friends, over here. Rabbi Nachman is going to quote another great rabbi, Rabbi Bar Avuha, as teaching that there were three places in the, let's say, in environment of the Bet HaMikdash that served as repositories to ashes. What was there, friends, over here? There was a large Bet Hadeshen in the Bet HaMikdash courtyard where they burned the holiest sacrifices and the innards of, let's say, the lesser sacrifice, lesser korbanot that had become, let's say at that point in time, disqualified. Number two, there was a second Bet Hadeshen on the Temple Mount where they burned animals that were supposed to be burned that had become disqualified after sprinkling the blood. And number three, we have to point out over here, which is very, very key, the third Bet Hadeshen was for those korbanot that were done properly and had to be burned according to, let's say, their basic requirements. And this Bet Hadeshen specifically was outside of the three camps, outside the inner camp of the tabernacle, the middle camp of the tribe of Levi, and the outer camp of the Israelites in the Midbar, in the wilderness. When the Bet HaMikdash stood, this was outside the walls of the city of Jerusalem. Now we can say, as far as, let's define the Bet HaBira, which we've learned about on various occasions before. I think Rabbi Bar Chana taught that it was a particular spot on the Temple Mount, while I think according to another rabbi, Rabbi Yochanan, the entire Bet HaMikdash was called Bira, as we learned about actually this in the Tanakh, in Torah Nevi'im Ketuvim, I think in the Sefer Divrei Yamim, in the first book over there, in chapter 29, on verse number 19, friends. So it's very, very interesting. And learning about all these importances here inside the Daf Yomi daily page. We're going to go for a short tour over here of Bet HaKerem in a minute. I want to show everyone where we are around over here. So I think it's nice always to explore a bit of Israel, to see the sights of Israel over here. Friends, a special treat over here. So you've got a nice tea. This is Ramat Bet HaKerem. It's a main Merkaz area. We're going to now the separate tour soon. We're very near an archaeological trail over here. And they've just done this up quite nicely. They've got like a nice Chanukiah for Hanukkah. I love this Israeli flag here. This has been up for a long time. There's a bank over here, friends. Yeah, what I like over here is there's a nice archaeological, let's just say, trail over here, which really encompasses, let's say, the beauty of Israel. And then I think if you can walk behind here, you actually end up in Bet Kerem itself. There's like a whole archaeological trail here, friends. I think we've been here actually before, on previous times. Nothing beats Israel, friends. There's a whole trail of archaeology. We actually toured around here. We did a separate tour. So you can see this goes back to another road. I think it's the main highway. There's a trail there. And you've got a lot of archaeology. Nothing beats Jerusalem, friends. The Jerusalem stone. And I think it's always important you get a feel of you know, where we're recording from, what we're doing. You can see some of the plants and trees of this beautiful city of Jerusalem over here. Friends, anyone tuning in live, welcome to our community, as we are every day doing a tidbit on the daily page of the Gemara over here. We do tours every day. We like to go all over this beautiful city of Jerusalem, the capital of Eretz Israel, and see the shops, the sights, the scenes. We just came out of the Jewish festival Hanukkah. Yesterday was Zot Hanukkah, friends. And today, we are post-Hanukkah already. Happens to be my baby's birthday in 3 days' time, her Hebrew birthday. So I've just taken her out for a treat. Well, she's only one, so got a pizza restaurant here. You've got a nice French supermarket, style supermarket here. I need to add some hot water to the baby bottle. Right, got some really cool design styles over here in the Big Apple Pizza over here, friends. We've got the supermarket here. And yeah, very, very interesting. This happens to be the Grey Cafe area. I just happen to be in at the moment, which is very interesting. So friends, wishing you all a fantastic day. Thanks for watching, and be well. I appreciate it. Don't forget to join the channel. Thank you.